Departments.
The council or senior management authorize the execution of the Power Plus contract to participate in the Alberta Municipalities Power Plus or procurement of electricity for municipality name starting January 1st, 2024.
All right, thank you. And Councillor Stenhouse is shaking her head. Go ahead.
I have to apologize, I did not read this article.
Oh, this particular motion? Okay. Well, we can just really quickly give you the, well, actually, go ahead. Council, or I should say, Rita, go ahead and give her the background to it.
I just want to clarify the option number one. I omitted to put the town of High Prairie instead of the word name. The motion should read that council or senior management authorize the execution of the Power Plus contract to participate in the Alberta Municipalities Power Plus for procurement of electricity for municipality, well, town of High Prairie, starting January 1st, 2024.
Yeah, okay.
We talked about this at the leadership caucus, Mr. Mayor, do you remember?
Yes, oh, I do. Yeah.
Okay, so the history behind this is that, okay, our current contract with Alberta municipalities is ending in December of 2023. So there's this new opportunity that Alberta municipalities is offering, which is a 10-year instead of a 3-year contract. It's still going to be block form power, so you basically say you need X number of kilowatts up front. If you exceed that, then you have to go to the market and purchase it. If you get under, then you sell it back to the market, and there's this trade-off that happens all the time. Currently, the little blue chart, that's telling you what you're currently paying. Alberta municipalities, that Andrew Riley indicated to me that he is going to send out the RFP for the request from other suppliers after June 30th, when he has his firm numbers. As of this morning, he was at 103 municipalities on board. He expects by the time June 30th rolls around, he'll have approximately 110, if we'll be potentially one of those. The contract price point is going to be fixed, and if it goes over that, then it isn't going to go forward. So if the tenders come in above that's 0.6, I can't remember where I put that in but it is in this item here. Oh, it's on the second, the last page, the second paragraph. It says the bids are going to be from 5.7 to 6.4 block rate. So if it exceeds that when the tender comes in, then they go back to the drawing board and try again. They will not sign the contract above that. So that's basically our guideline. Right now we're paying under that at 5.2 and 5.50 cents currently, or for next year rather, till the end of 2023. It is a new procedure to go 10 years, but it could mean stability, right? You've got a guarantee for 10 years to sit at certain rates, right? So you know what you're going to be getting. It sounds like a good idea, honestly. If you've got 110 municipalities across the province of Alberta buying into this, it's again that power, that global purchasing power, right? Any questions?
Questions on it? No, I agree. Like, oh, Councillor Danaka.
So I just want to try and get my head around this. So currently, we get our power through ATCO? No?
It's convoluted. ATCO owns the power poles,
Okay,
so they own the infrastructure.
okay,
However, what's the term they use? It's suppliers? Providers, exactly.
Okay.
Providers that sell you the power.
and so we're getting our power right now from through the Alberta Municipalities Association at, what is it, 52 or whatever? Okay, all right, I just wanted to confirm. And I just want some clarification on the motion. Because usually it's council directs administration, and this is the council or senior management. So I'm confused.
That was their template, but we should take that out, that was their, we should just say that council directed administration.
Okay, all right,
So I'm happy with that friendly amendment.
okay,
And the town of High Prairie as opposed to
Yes.
municipality name.
okay, I'm good then.
I'm not. I'm not.
Okay, what's your question on it?
Okay, clarity again. ATCO, who is a power supplier, supplies the streetlights, correct? No.
No. They are like, you have the infrastructure and we pay them for the use of their infrastructure, but we can buy the power from other sources. And we've been getting it, the town is getting it from Alberta Munis, like the town facilities. It's like at your house, you can go to different electrical providers, but you would still have to pay the distribution charges to ATCO for their power poles and that kind of stuff. So there's the power that you're buying, and you can buy that from anywhere, but you're always paying ATCO their chunk of change for their poles and their infrastructure that delivers it, that enables it to get to your home.
Okay.
Councilor Martins?
I was going to ask this in the CA report, but this is sort of related. Last meeting, we talked about the lights being on, not being motion censored. Will this impact in any way that thing, that we asked, that they stay on?
They're on by photo eye.
Okay, but can we change that? But this motion has nothing to do with that, right? I'll bring it up in your report.
Does it make sense, your question?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
clearer now,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I like the idea of bulk purchase. 10 years is a long time, but electrical prices generally don't go down. So, and you know that the electrical companies are trying to hedge their bets so that they're not losing too much on it too, but I'm sure that they've been looking at this long and hard on what's a reasonable rate for that length of term, and they figure, 5.7 to 6.4, I'm gonna assume that's a reasonably good bet for 10 years. I think it's the way to go, in my eyes. Any other comments or before we vote on this? Questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried.
Is that your pre-vote scratch?
Yeah.
Site.
Okay, looking at the local intel subscription renewal. Get a motion on this one? We gotta get Councillor Danaka, she hasn't made a motion yet. I think everybody else has had one.
Okay, the council will receive local intel's business and investment assistant for information.
All right, thank you. Okay, so some discussion on this one?
So my question on this is the one that shows the metrics of a business to come into town and says this is what, okay. I went on the town website, I went into government, I went into business, I went to town home, I couldn't find it. I honestly don't know where else I was looking that was wrong. But honestly, I went on the town's website to find this, and I was looking for local intel, and I couldn't find it.
Sorry, Councillor Danaka, the government website
No,
or
no,
the
no,
town?
the town's website. I thought it was attached to the town's website.
Would you be able to bring it up, Callie, within minutes? Because it's really easily, under two places. You go under the started business, and there's a link right there. Or just under, there's a link in the bottom of the town's website. that has
Okay,
the link to
because
it.
I went into business, but I didn't go into starting a business. I just figured it would be like, when you hit business, it would be Local Intel right there, easy to click on and go.
It's easy to find.
It's under the economic development area.
Yeah. Your page says.
Yeah,
town
I'm on
wide.
it right now. One of the things that I noticed that was in here that we had, how many hits this time? It was-
Oh, okay, okay,
It's in the center of the page, it
Yeah.
says 38
Oh,
unique
38,
visits.
38, there was,
In 3 months though.
yeah, 3 months, 38 hits.
Wow.
That's, I know the last time we looked at this, it was much less, we didn't have as many. Yeah, so for my way, I don't know how much this gets used, but if it's $2,000 for another year, $1,900, my way of looking is saying, okay, this is the little bit that we do for economic development in our community. Does it help? I don't know. Probably doesn't hurt if somebody's thinking of coming in and starting a business, it gives them information. Not a big ticket at this point, and keep looking at it and see if we're getting hits. They talk about in this RFD that they've made some changes to the website, some improvements. And I think the other thing in there is that they've updated it to the 2021 census data. So that would be good for people. But Councillor Waco?
I think our upcoming year would probably be a really good benchmark to measure this by. We have Timothy's House of Pastries being built and Queen of Ice Cream being built in town. So we have 2 major franchises being built. Now when you see that, when you see big franchises being built, your first instinct is, oh, something's going on here. They're gonna want some information. $1,900 is not a whole bunch to pay for at least another year, because it's a yearly contract, right? Am I seeing that right? Okay, so this is the benchmark, right? If people are gonna be looking, this is when we're gonna grow. So if people are thinking, do I wanna come to High Prairie? Do I wanna start a business in High Prairie? Where can I get the information? Oh, look, here it is. We can increase the hits on this site. Now, in a year, if we're still at 38 hits, and is that in a month, or is that?
3 months,
That's in 3 months.
1 quarter.
Okay, so I say give it a year, is my suggestion. Give it the year, and if in a year, we're still only averaging a little over 10 hits a month, it's probably not doing much for us. However, if we get more, considering the fact that we have 2 major franchises being built at either end of town, you can miss them, but you gotta go right through the middle. Down 749. My vote would be to continue this for another year and really look at the numbers. Because one, we're still coming off of COVID, which has been a crappy time for a lot of people. You know, this is the upswing. So I say we take advantage of this at the reduced price, because we're grandfathered in, which I like, and give it a shot for another year. Maybe they'll get our name right at the start of the email next time.
Councillor Shishin?
I agree, it's a good benchmark, it'll serve as a, well, I don't wanna say starting point, but, coming out of COVID and especially with that, I think we have some new businesses, that's really positive. And I agree with Councillor Wakel that, yeah, it's a good starting point and a good benchmark and go from there. And with the cost of that, you know, I mean, it can be reevaluated, you know, at that point in time, but I agree too with that, that it's gonna take a year to see that, and I think that's very important. I think that's a huge improvement that we've got going there, and a good trend going forward.
Councillor Stenhouse.
And I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. People will ask, you know, can I build this? Can I do that? What's the town rules? I say, go to our website, our bylaws are there. Oh, I never go on the website. What's the pool schedule? I say, go on the website. Oh, I never go on our town's website. It's, I don't know. Could we not ourselves put something out there for information, and in reality, someone wanting a business, would they not stop in at the town and talk to our development officer?
We certainly could put something together, and I would argue, and this is just the other side, is saying it would cost us $2,000 in manpower to put everything into a nice package to give to somebody. So yes, we can. We could put together a hard copy, and if anybody came in, we could give it to them. But I would also, and this is just my thinking, is that business people are a little bit different than residents that don't go on the internet. If you're in business, you're likely using the web a lot to look up and get some data and intel on your communities before you're gonna go there and looking things up. Councillor Dunn?
That was my point, is so if individuals are not going to our website, if we maintain this, we might get people looking for different stuff that goes to this website, and they may locate us. I mean, if people aren't using the town website for whatever reason, maybe they'll look somewhere else. Or we're gonna get people that aren't even looking for anything in town of Hyperia. Oh, well, there's information here, let's check this place out. Just a thought.
Councillor Martins?
So I know what you're thinking, but I don't know that they redirect like that. But that's not even where I was gonna go with this. So in theory, I like what this does. And it's a really small cost, as the mayor has pointed out. The thing with this is that I think that it's buried. It's not well merchandised. I think that we could do a lot more to rejig just how it's presented, and that costs us nothing. So in theory, I like it. I was also going to say that the two large franchises that Councillor Weichel mentioned, they didn't do their analysis to this site. They went and did their analysis differently and in a more rigorous fashion. But this is such a small spend. I'm not opposed to it. I just think it needs to be have more visibility. But that's not a one-off thing. It needs to come together in a package of how we, again, I've talked about this before. We need to modernize, and this would be a plan. This would be part of that plan, from my perspective. But that's what I have to say. So I would be in favor of it, but I would. Hopefully we have someone that can utilize it in a better way and highlight it more.
More visible on the website.
Yeah, a little bit more marketing around it, but yes, in short, something like that, yeah.
Councillor Danaka?
I mean, this has no bearing on the motion that I put forth, but I don't know how many of you caught that their letter, it's time for the town of High River.
That's what Councillor Waco was referring to.
So,
We know they're talking to them too. We're not their only date.
Because
Yeah.
they did get our name right later on in the email as well, though,
yeah.
so.
All right, so any other discussion on this? We have a motion to receive for information. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so that was received, it was some went up and some went down.
Let's just clarify.
Yeah,
When I was saying receiving for information, we're not doing anything with it. We're not approving
yeah,
the amount. We're not spending anything on the local intel. I
that's,
just want to make sure that people understand that. Okay.
okay, so maybe I'll do a vote again, just if there was confusion, because I saw some hands go up and then come down really quick, so I was, so, Councillor Danak explained the motion, all in favor? All right, opposed? All right, so that motion is defeated.
So now you need another motion.
We need another motion. Councillor Wakel.
Wakel was my mother, but I'll answer to. Council direct administration to continue with local intel businesses and investment assistance subscription to supplement the town website.
Right? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. That is carried.
And then we'll look at it here. Right?
Yeah, so item 8.3, it's the Clean Energy Improvement Program. Motion on this one. I'll make a motion here that council direct administration to begin the process of launching a clean energy improvement program. And I'll sort of talk on this one, because it was something that came out of that Alberta Munis Leadership Caucus in June there, when we were there. And this is, what it is it gives homeowners, they can take out a loan to do energy improvements to their home from the town. They then pay it goes up against their tax bill, so every year they have to pay a little bit till they pay this loan off. It's a low interest bearing account, and they can get some improvements done to their home if they can't, it might cost them more to get a loan at the bank. And the other nice thing about this is that the loan is tied to the property. So if they happen to move, that the new homeowner gets the benefit of that, but they also have to finish paying off anything owing on it.
It's like a debenture.
It's like a debenture, yeah, that way. The other thing about this program is Alberta Munis will do a lot to support it. They will help get it set up, because you have to get it set up and get approved. You have to have people that are approved to do the work, people that are approved to do the inspections, and they will work to get those people certified. They will also work to come out and do the inspections on your home. So they'll come out, if somebody's interested, do an inspection on your home and tell you what could be done, what are the costs, what are the benefits, what are the cost savings. So they give you a plan, and then as the homeowner, you can decide whether or not you want to go ahead with this. Right? I'll take a new furnace and LED lights, but I'm not doing extra this or extra that. And the total bill is $12,000, but I'm going to recoup those costs in 8 years. So they'll give you that kind of information as a homeowner. Then you can take that loan out from the town at a lower rate, and that's something that we could set and look at. But the people that were there, how long of a process was it to get this approved? I can't remember. He said it was like 6 months to get everything in place, or a year to get things in place. He also said that, from a town's perspective, is you have to come up with these funds to lend them to start it. It is going to pay for itself, but the startup funds, you have to budget for them. And you can, to avoid getting hit with 800 people coming to you for a loan, you could say, like in Edmonton, he said Edmonton capped it out at something like 100 homes is all they would do. 100 homes in a million. 100 homes seems like a lot here, but when you got, that many in Edmonton, it's not a lot. So they really limited it. They filled it up in the first day when they opened it up. So I think it's something that we could offer our residents at a very low cost. And I think for some people where they might not be able to get another loan, this would be another way to carry it forward and help them get some improvements to their home. So I think it isn't a bad idea. So, but what does other people think? Councillor Denoka?
I mean, it's all great, but I mean, I don't know. Number one, the town isn't a bank. Number two, we have fiscal restraints on us already. And the other thing I'm not really keen on is the fact that I decide hypothetically to do my lighting and doors, windows, etc. And it costs X amount of dollars. So I'm there for 2 years. Somebody buys my place and it's attached to the home, so then that person now is responsible for paying off a loan that they didn't take out, even though they're possibly benefiting from whatever improvements. So I don't like the format, is what I'm saying. I don't like the format, but the other thing is, for me, is the town is fiscally, we have money issues, and giving out a loan at a low interest rate, I don't know what that would be, 1%, 2%, 5%, I don't know what would be looking at number-wise and stuff, but at this point, it's not something I would venture into.
I'll address two of your questions and then go there. If I remember right, the interest rate was, I think it was, they said you can set it, but it was around 2.5% to 5%. And the other question about having that loan outstanding if somebody else buys it, you can pay it off at any time.
That's true, you can,
Yeah.
but if somebody chooses not to.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they would have to disclose that when they're
Absolutely.
selling their home, that there is this loan that you have to pay off, which,
Yeah.
I mean, may work or not work to the advantage of selling that home, but it's just right now that with the financial picture that we're looking at going forward, I think we have to really, really look at that and go, like we've lost MSI, we've lost, the dip, or not the dip, the Heart River, whatever it was called.
Ransom Loop.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And possibly, more money paid for policing. So we have all these other financial issues that are coming forward that we need to be looking at and being prepared for. And right at this point, I don't think this is something that we need to look at right at this point. Maybe if COVID everything's back on track, people get a little bit more stability, people get jobs back and stuff, yeah, maybe. Right now, no.
Councillor Stenhouse and Councillor Waco.
So, when COVID was around, we gave our residents a break on their taxes and we dropped their penalty. This year we brought the penalty back up to 14% because we said we are not a financial institution. So how can we charge 14% interest on taxes and then we're going to turn around and give you a loan at 2.5%? We're not a financial institution. That's what banks are for. So I am not in favor of this.
Okay. Councillor Waco.
The question of the financial situation is fair, but this is a revenue stream for us. And I understand your concern, how do you charge 14% penalty versus 2% or whatever it's gonna be for the loan? Well, it's a penalty. We want our taxes paid on time. This is an incentive for people to get clean energy. As far as it being disclosed, that's all part of the selling process, and it would be handled by the real estate agents and the lawyers and all of that. They would know going in that this debenture of sorts is on that property. And again, if they fail to pay it back, well then, that's defaulting on a loan, and I guess it goes as a lien against the property, and ultimately, you can seize it, I guess. It's like unpaid taxes in a way. I see this as a positive. I see this as a revenue stream. I see it as a way for us to reduce our carbon footprint and just move forward to the future. I attended actually at the Alberta Municipalities Conference. I attended this exact same seminar. I'll have to see if I can find my notes that I made on it there, but I thought it was a good idea. The startup fee, we'd have to find out how much we'd have to do, and like Edmonton, we would have to limit how many people we take on at a time. I could see, well, businesses might even want, is it for businesses? It doesn't say specifically.
I can't remember if it was for businesses. Anybody remember from the discussion?
I don't remember them saying, they just spoke sort of indirectly about this.
Yeah, I can't,
Program.
I'm not sure. of the
Yeah.
answer to that.
We can put our own parameters on it.
Yeah.
Limit it to residential, and maybe we limit it to 10 or 20 houses to start and just see how it goes. And 2% is not a huge return on money, but I don't know. I'm in favor of this. I think it's a great idea.
I just want to ask one question of administration and I guess more specifically Rita. Because there would be a little bit of work at the back end to set this up and charge them and, add this on to their tax roll. Is that, what they told me is that they would help with that, but most of the others don't think it was that much work. Now that was that Dan Rude from Alberta Munis. I don't know if he's blowing smoke or not, so I thought I would just ask that question.
Difficult to know how much time it's going to take to set up. That I can foresee is probably going to be hundreds of hours, 100 hours at least, by the time you get it all done. So maybe 2 or 3 months of work to probably, by the time you send the application, fill it out. I'm assuming that there's some attachment to the MCCAC, that municipal, I can't remember the acronym, but it has to do with climate change. Because the people that come in and do the evaluation for the residences to decide, that's got to be funded somehow. So where is that coming from? I'm going to guess that that's provincially funded. I didn't get your presentation, so I don't really know about this program. And then just the application process itself, filling out the form and then getting the payment process. Like, is it going to be an annual payment like a tax, or is it going to be a monthly payment like a loan? Those two things. Then you're processing 10 people's payments. That's another hour a month. Once it's all said and done, how long is the process for the application and the processing and putting that all in place?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Martins?
So the two things I remember, well, three things I remember thinking, oh, good, we could be loan sharks. Number two, I remember, no, that was a thought when she presented it. The other thing I remember thinking was that they did say this would be first on title, and to Councillor Danaka's point, I think Kathy Heron presented it, and she said, oh, this is such a great thing, it'd make your home more attractive, and I thought, crap, this would be a liability. Because in a city like Calgary or Edmonton, this is favorable, and I think that people do things like this, they're more than the uptake would be here. But again, that's just, I could be completely wrong. And the other comment I had about this was, what was it? Yeah, and I don't know which way to go. I just don't, I had the same question about businesses, Councillor Wakel, that you thought about. Yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to say it would be first on title, I remember that, and, yeah, I'm not sure what the uptake would be on this. I'm not opposed or against, they talked a lot at FCM, resilience and adaptation were programs that are being funded now. I hear the time to administration, and again, bigger cities, bigger urbans are more easily able to absorb that administration because you're not one person there, it's a department of 6, right? So I see both sides. I don't even know which way to go on this. And I would love to see another year of uptake, problems, lessons learned, challenges, those kinds of things before we proceed here.
Councillor Dunn?
Just wondering if recovery risk is even going to, if our low amount of interest is going to cover, some of the stuff that may come up in terms of recovery, or if it is a risk, I don't know. It sounds like there's a possibility for that to happen, right? Do we want to get into long-term things where you're waiting for a house to eventually, go in through court and get the money back, or what, and the cost involved in that?
Okay, yeah, I was just trying to look on their website to see if there was any more information. I can't find anything on business versus residential. They talk a lot about property owners, but they don't, and renewable upgrades through their municipal property taxes.
I mean, in the pamphlet that they gave out, it's clean energy is available to property owners, it says, but
Yeah.
then the second point is you gotta complete a Guide home evaluation, so it sounds like it's strictly for homeowners, is what I'm gathering.
Councillor Martin?
Apologies, I remember the other point, and that was one of the, I believe it was the gentleman from Grand Prairie, they asked about would the vendors be local, and the CEO, Dan Reed, said, as much as possible, we'll try. So there is, to Rita's point, there is an approval process, so you need to, I don't know that there are any certified operators here in High Prairie, so that's another thing, we're gonna have to wait for Slave Lake, Grand Prairie, likely Grand Prairie, because they asked that question. So yeah, there's some.
There are some, there are some challenges. This isn't gonna happen overnight, but, it's the question or the motion is really to start looking into this, seeing what more is involved and bringing it back if it is worth it, right? Do we want to invest any time and effort from our administration to start on this process? Because we don't have all of the answers at this point in time. Lots of questions. How much work is the application process? I don't know. Like you said, is there anybody certified in this area? Don't know. Can they get certified? What's the process? Is it worth it for those companies to get certified? There's a whole bunch of questions there. But from my way of thinking, here's something that we can offer our residents that does not cost them. It's something that we can offer our residents that we haven't been offering them before. It's an additional service that we haven't provided before. And it doesn't, in the long run, doesn't cost us anything. We're gonna recoup our costs on it. So I think, yeah, as long as it's not too much of a labor cost involved in setting it up, I think it's a win for our residents. Okay, Councilor Wakefield, you had your hand up?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, we're just starting the process here. Like you said, we have lots of questions. You know, look into it a little bit. If it turns out that it's more hassle than it's worth, well, then we don't do it. Right? I think that it's just that simple. There's nothing wrong with starting to look at something to see, okay, is this gonna work for our community? Can we do this as an entity of the town? And, you know, right now, I think the answer is, well, maybe. We have questions. I think that's worth investigating.
Okay. Any other comments on this? And maybe the motion isn't really, it says to direct administration to begin the process of launching a clean energy improvement program. Maybe I could modify that to say investigating or looking into it.
Get out of my head, Mr. Mayor.
I'm gonna change the motion to investigating. The clean energy improvement program. Any other discussions on this? All right, all in favor? Opposed? It was carried.
Just because you changed the wording.
Yeah.
I would have opposed launching.
Yeah. Well, and that really wasn't, was my intent, but yeah. Just find out more about it, don't know a lot. Look at 8.4 was one of the addendums, the procedure bylaw. And this is where we wanted to discuss the, how we work with our agenda, and if we debate the items up front or if we go through them all. Anybody want, okay, Councillor Waco?
I'll make the motion that council direct administration to bring a newly amended procedure bylaw to the bylaw review committee with the proposed changes regarding selected items to be debated and received for information. My comment on that is that the idea behind it was to save time, and we spent, as is mentioned in here, we spent more time talking about it at the beginning than we did debate. So it didn't save us any time, it cost us time, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stenhouse?
And my understanding of this procedure is to force us to read our agenda and our emails so that you know what you want to talk about. That's why it was brought in. Some of these, some of the information in these pamphlets, we've seen it's been in our email. We've read it, we've had time to think about it, so do you want to discuss it or do you want to move on?
Okay.
If I may rebut that.
Sure.
Just as a rebuttal to that, you're right, we absolutely should be reading our packages beforehand, preparing. However, the process of going around the table and asking each of us, okay, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? That just takes up the time that we could, you know, we get to something, you know what? It's the Public Works report, okay, any questions for Vern? No? All right, all in favor? Carried, done. Instead of, you know, do you want to talk about Public Works? No, okay. Do you want to talk about, no? Oh, you? Oh, you do? Okay, great. Well, see what I mean? So we have to read our packages still, but, and the process of eliminating from the agenda the things that we've already studied and know that it's like, yeah, that's a slam dunk, that just takes up more time than what this was intended to. The idea is good, but in practical sense, it just didn't work.
Councillor Martins and then Councillor Danaka.
So I agree with both of you. I just think that maybe we didn't streamline that enough. It was new to us, you know, we kind of were humming and hawing. I think that if, let's say we start either alphabetically or around the room, if she said something Teresa doesn't have to say it again, we just skip around and by the time it comes to mayor, everyone's picked whatever we all wanna talk about the same things generally. So maybe I'm wondering if some of that humming and hawing was just that it was a new process and we didn't streamline it. Cause I don't know, I see both of your points. I mean, I think that Rod mentioned it, that this way council will freaking read their agendas, I remember Rod saying that, so the intent was good, I think in theory it's great, maybe we had growing pains with it, maybe.
Councillor Tanaka?
So presently, right now, in our procedural bylaw, it says that we are reviewing each,
Yes,
okay,
it's in there now.
it's in there now, okay. So, this motion, I guess my question is, why is it going back to the bylaw review committee when we can decide right now whether we want to continue on with that process or not continue on with that process?
Besides this item, there was a couple other items that I wanted to send back to the bylaw review committee regarding the procedure bylaw. And one was some information today that I received from Municipal Affairs on the note-taking in closed sessions. And the other one was the time of extending the minutes of the meeting. I think right now it says 11 o'clock and it should be before, or 10:30. So
Oh, okay.
then
Right,
amendments will
okay,
have to be
okay.
made also, so.
All right,
It will have to go back to the committee for sure, so,
okay.
but it's whether you decide to.
So my other thing with that, so presently, until the bylaw committee reviews this, presently we're sticking with each counselor brings forth what they want to discuss at a meeting, correct? So going forward, that's the way the meetings will be conducted. We know how often the bylaw review committee meets. I mean, when are we gonna meet to discuss this? Tomorrow, 2 months from now, 6 months from now?
September.
Because I'm sure there's other bylaws that need to be reviewed and looked at and updated, so.
I have to say that I didn't realize that that was in our bylaw. That's a bit of a surprise. I know we had discussed it and we agreed to it. I didn't realize we passed it as a bylaw, so we should have.
Well, we
followed.
passed it as a motion, so it got included into our procedural bylaw.
Yeah,
That's how it got there, because we made a motion to change the format of the agenda, of how we,
I didn't realize that that was the, but anyway, that's just,
but
that's my
anyway, it's
picture.
in there, so we need to proceed until this is changed with
Yeah,
the next meeting we have. Council has to figure out which ones they're gonna debate on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless we agree here that we want to change the bylaw and then he can make the amendment to it.
But it's gotta come back to the bylaw review committee,
Well,
is what this motion is saying.
yeah, we could say that we bring it back to council for approval, right? And then, but then there would be there would be one change for this, and then once the bylaw committee met, then you could address those other items, or, you know what I mean? It could be a long process, or we could. I guess for me, I'm just sitting here wondering, I know the idea behind it was the time saver. I'm not sure if it did save the time. That's where I'm at. And maybe it was because it was new, but we did try it for a couple of months.
We only tried it for like 3 meetings.
Yeah,
Oh, no. No.
It was very short amount.
okay, so
So I completely agree with Councilor Stenhouse. I don't think we really
gave it enough.
grasped it, the concept, and gave it enough time to work. And she's right. I may say I wanna do 8.3, 10.1. Teresa's same as me, James, like,
You don't have to keep repeating
you
the
don't have to
numbers.
keep repeating that, yes, Therese, 8.1, Same as me, same as Counselor Stenhouse, but I want to discuss these two things.
The other thing for me is sometimes, and this was just one of the things, I might not want to discuss, and I'm thinking of our reports, because I know there was a few times when we had public works or peace officers or fire in, and we didn't address their reports. And sometimes it's not that I have questions or want to debate anything, but sometimes there's comments or compliments or something that you want to go, you know, good job on that, and it's just, you don't have the opportunity to do that if you don't. And so that's one of the reasons I sort of like going through those, but it isn't all the time, but there was a couple of times where I went, well, I would have, but I don't want to, if nobody else is there, I don't want to bring it up, so I felt like sometimes we missed out when we didn't do that. Councilor Martins?
So there's no harm, I think we've done this before, where you bring it up and it's a comment, it doesn't have to be a debate always, and you just say, hey, no questions, but I need to compliment you on that thing.
Well, we just go by it on, yeah, we could, but we usually just go by it on the agenda. If nobody marks it, we just go from here down to there because it's already been received for information. But, Councilor Wakel?
You still have to go around the table and that, and, you know, what do you want to debate? And, well, I want to add this. No, I'm good with everything that's on there. The way around this, because I thought we did it for more than 3 meetings. It felt like forever. But the way around this, if it's, we want to make sure we follow our policies and our procedures. The way around it is really simple, Mr. Mayor, is that, you know, the meeting's here, what are we going to talk about? I'll start, I want to talk about everything. Done. And then we just move on with the meeting. That way we follow the policy. You want to talk about everything that's on the agenda, so therefore we will address everything on the agenda. And maybe it'll be 2 seconds. But then that way we follow policy and we don't have to go around and say, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? Because that takes time.
But what happens if you don't want to discuss everything?
Then you just say, then at that point, then it's like, okay, we got this letter from Mr. Dressup about wanting to save the tree house. We'll receive it for information. Because if we got a letter from Mr. Dressup right now, it'd be weird. He's been dead for 20 years. But that's the thing, is we just, to follow the procedure, that's how we can do that until the bylaw committee meets, and we can discuss all of it there and then bring that back to council.
Yeah, you're right. We could have a workaround and do that if we wanted, but I don't think that's the intent. Either we're going to, you know, try to follow this and shortcut it, or we're gonna not include it and we would leave those things open. I think that's the intent. I mean, yes, you could certainly say, yeah, I want to debate everything, and off you go. Councilor Martins? Or Councilor?
From an administrator's perspective, how long does it take to receive council minutes for information and then to vote on it? It wouldn't take you 15 seconds to do that. And I counted the items to be received for information tonight, and there was 5 of them that we could have done. 5-1, 5-2, 5-3, 6-1, and 13-1. So that, you're looking there, that's like a minute and, not even a minute and a half of your night to receive them for information. And you can still talk about them if you wanted. So that's my take on it.
True, but I mean,
But
this is a very light agenda. Sometimes we've had agendas that are, you know, 100 and some pages, and you don't necessarily think we have to discuss everything.
That's not how it works. Like you say, sometimes there's a stack of emails that you should have read, but then it goes, any questions? Anybody? Anybody got questions? Okay, nobody's got questions? Okay, then we'll make a motion.
You're still under 15 seconds. Just what you just said.
But you should have read those emails that come in, like we,
That's up to the individual.
Regardless, you should be reading your agenda. And it doesn't matter which way we handle the agenda, you should be reading it ahead of time. Okay, we've hashed this around and we had a motion, and I just want to make sure I'm clear. It was the recommendation in here. It's be received for information, meaning that we are not going to change the bylaw.
No.
And, oh, okay, sorry.
You made the option one,
Oh, you went with option one, sorry, okay.
so he wants to change
So,
that's the way I kind of.
Yeah,
okay, so,
well, because you said there's other procedures that we need to
Yes.
oh,
send
okay.
there anyway, so.
Okay, so the motion is saying that we want to not go around and identify what we're gonna debate, we're just gonna debate the whole agenda. That's what the motion is. In a nutshell, just so
Then
we're
why
clear.
didn't the motion just say that?
Yeah, it does say, it says to send it to the bylaw, the bylaw's gonna debate it, and then we're gonna come back with a recommendation to you guys.
Well, yeah, but I think the reason he wanted to bring it to the bylaw was to add those other issues and bring it all back in one change to the procedural bylaw, not doing multiple changes. So that was why it's worded the way it is, right?
If you debate this change here now, and whatever way it goes, if you want it removed, then we'll remove it, but we'll make the other two changes. But if you want to leave it, it stays the same, but we still make the other two changes up.
You know what would have been simpler? Is if the motion would have read, that council direct administration to bring procedure bylaw back to the bylaw committee for updated changes and to debate the new format.
Kind of says that.
From administration's perspective, we're trying to skip one trip back and forth between council and the bylaw review committee. Because if you put one of them in here and it's defeated, then it has to go back to the bylaw review committee again, right?
Okay, I'm just thinking we sort of know what we're voting on. Maybe it's not clear, but as long as we're clear in our heads that if we say to this and we approve this motion, we are going to take out that, the pre-authorization of items. That's what we are voting on at this point in time.
Not entirely,
No.
because there's other additions.
No,
It's
no,
not mentioned in here.
No, I know it's not mentioned in here, but it's, they're gonna be in there anyways. Procedure bylaw needs to go to the bylaw review committee regardless. So we should just do that. This could be part of it, and then these other two changes that administration has found could be part of it. So in the interest of saving time, 20 minutes later, we should just send the whole thing to the bylaw review committee, look at the three changes, and maybe we come back with two. Maybe we come back with one, maybe we come back with three, I don't know, whatever.
Hence the wording for updated and proposed changes.
Newly amended, same thing. It means the same thing. To bring
I
a
said
new,
that 5 minutes ago, and we're still debating it.
well, I was ready to vote on this 5 minutes ago to bring a newly amended procedure bylaw to the bylaw review committee. I made the motion.
So so I'm clear that we are voting on directing administration to take proposed changes to the bylaw committee.
Yes.
Proposed changes to the bylaw procedure, to the bylaw committee. That's what we're voting on. They can bring it back and we can finalize this, and in the interim, just like Councillor Danaka says, we're dealing with what's in our bylaw, and we will be voting on reports not selected for debates until there's a change. Are we all right with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, now hold on, so this is my thought.
Okay.
There's three of us on the bylaw committee,
Yeah.
okay? So the proposed changes come down to remove that section of, voting on reports selected not to be debated, okay? Two of us agree, one disagrees, the motion is carried to keep that in the procedural bylaw. We bring that back to council, and council doesn't agree with that motion. So you see where I'm going here?
That's why I said eliminate one step.
So
Should-
then
should
come
we
to
do-
bring it back.
Let's do two votes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's break this motion into two
You
votes.
betcha.
I mean,
I'm fine.
with your.
Whatever, yeah, in the interest of time.
I mean, the first vote could be to, a vote on whether we want to vote on the selected items for debate. And if that passes, then it can go, they can make the changes.
Yes,
And the second,
You just leave it, it's in the
Just
bylaw.
leave it at that, just
Yeah.
leave it at, that's the motion. Because once it's in the bylaw, then we'll see, uh-oh, we need to fix this.
that's right. And then the other motion would be to direct administration to bring those other changes to the bylaw committee.
No.
Because there's two other changes that he
Yeah, I
wants
know,
to see.
you're gonna do the first motion, it's
Yeah.
gonna go to the bylaw committee. While we're there, we're gonna say, hey, these times aren't right, we're gonna fix it. You're gonna get it with a highlighted saying, we fix these times to meet our dates.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
We're gonna
okay.
do, we're gonna fix.
They're gonna bring it forward anyways,
Right,
whether
we're
we
gonna
make a
fix the
motion
dates
is what
and the
you're
times
saying.
And the spelling
Okay.
errors, while we're looking at that.
Okay, I'm all right with that. All right, so I'll turn it over to Council Wakel. You're okay with rejigging your motion to say, you would like, or you're making a motion to direct administration to remove the vote on reports not selected for debate.
Yes,
Everybody's clear on that?
yes,
as much.
Okay, clear as mud.
fine.
Yeah. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so it's carried.
So we take it out.
That's right. That's what I got out of that.
Yeah. that's what-
Yeah. Okay, we're clear. We're gonna take it
Okay,
out.
we're clear.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Moving on then
That was
to,
James'
it was James's motion, yeah.
Yeah, and then you wanna do the other motion there?
No, it's.
Oh, no, it's only gonna
it's
go
just gonna
anyways.
go anyways.
Yeah.
We're moving on to item 10.1, which is the appointment of a new deputy mayor. And I think just before we appoint a new deputy mayor, I want to say thank you to former deputy mayor Tanaka.
Not until the 30th.
Well, not,
You're welcome.
yeah, it's been, we've had to work lots together in this last little bit, so thank you for that.
So I will make the motion that council appoint Councillor Dunn as deputy mayor for an 8-month term from June 28th, 2022 to February 27th, 2023.
Can we debate that?
No,
Not perfectly.
Yeah. All right, we can debate anything, but,
Just for down the road and just, yeah, I'm still learning and I'm thinking, I know we went alphabetical. I'm thinking maybe we wanna reconsider that, and if you have other experienced, town council, that you go in terms of service. Because I think that's gonna benefit the community more, it's gonna benefit here. And to be very honest, if I would have been deputy mayor for what we just went through, I wouldn't have been able to make it half the time. My job takes up a lot of time, right? And so just something to consider, and that's what I'm debating, like I'm going, I don't know, if we run it a shit show, can I be there? Right? So, that's why I had some questions around it.
you just just don't wanna be jumping in right now. Into the deep end. That's the deep end that you're going into.
That's probably part of it, but that's because I'm dealing with deep ends in other areas as well, right? You know, in terms of volunteer work and stuff like that, but.
All right, so what I'm hearing is maybe we change the order around.
Yeah.
I mean.
Send it to the bylaw.
I mean, for me, I'm fine, I understand what you're saying, but it's, yeah, it's up to others if they would like to change order, somebody want to switch positions with Councillor Dunn. I mean, does anybody have an issue with that? I mean, it was one order was strictly alphabetical, it wasn't a really high-tech way that we picked them, so.
The thing is that we had discussed this at our organizational meeting on how we were gonna proceed with this.
Yeah.
We had the option of going a year, then 8 months, and I can't remember who brought it up that said everybody should have a chance, that's the way it ended up. That's how we ended up here, so, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Councillor Dunn, in terms of you're just learning and stuff, but not like get your feet wet.
You're drowning, here's a cup of water, sir.
You'll be fine.
You'll be, yeah. Okay.
But, hang on. I'm gonna agree with Councillor Dunn. It should be, like, it should be an option. Yeah, I know this was made way back when, and it should be an option that maybe at this point in time, it is not convenient and he can't fulfill his duties. So it should be an option.
And, yeah, and that's, I look at when we debate things around the table, that there are people here that have much more insight on things, and I'm still asking questions of, you know, and so, I am very reflective and know where I'm at in my life, and I truly wanna benefit our community to the greatest degree. And if I'm stumbling, then I feel like I can step back and let somebody else move in. And I know we made that plan, and 8 months ago, I'm thinking, yeah, I'll figure it out. I was way too cocky back then.
Much younger then.
Well, anyway. So I appreciate that, and I would move.
Oh, we have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, it's not your motion, but we can defeat it. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, call the question.
All right, everybody's all right to call the question? Yeah, okay, we have the motion to move Councillor Dunn into the deputy mayor position. All in favor? Opposed? All right, okay, the new motion.
I will make a motion that Councillor Stenhouse be appointed deputy mayor
All right,
for the 8-month period.
Okay, I'd like to decline at this time also.
okay.
You're the most damn tenured here next. Actually, no, it's Councillor Waco that is.
Okay.
The motion's on the floor, you can defeat it, so call the question.
But I don't, she declined it.
She declined, so
So I
there's
don't
no-
know if we can just withdraw that.
I'll withdraw the motion.
If
Why
she-
aren't we doing these motions? Why aren't we,
We usually have a motion to start the discussion.
okay, but I'm saying, we are, what can I think of the word? Nominating so-and-so to be deputy mayor
Yeah,
at this time for this 8-month block, okay?
Yeah.
Because like I said, maybe right now, these 8 months are not good for me, but 8 months from now, they might be.
mhm.
So why should we be appointing, let's nominate, and then they can either choose to accept or decline.
If you decline now, we're not nominating you again. Just saying.
You're lost.
Is there anybody that would like to do it
Right.
in this term? Let's start with that.
I nominate Councillor Wakefield.
Okay, so nobody put their hand up that wants to do it. We have a nomination process again. Would you accept the nomination?
I will accept the nomination.
All right,
Sounds like an NAR nomination to me, but
yeah. Is there any other nominations? It's sort of like a motion / nominate. I don't know what we're in here. It's an odd one, but
But at least we know right from the
Yeah.
get-go, instead of voting and going down
that
the field.
is. And so I'm just gonna ask, is there anybody else that's interested in doing it this next term? And nobody said yes. So we have a motion on the floor for Mr. Wakel to be the new deputy mayor. All in favor? It's carried. All right, moving on to our CAO's report and action list. And I'll turn it over to our CEO to,
You need a motion.
sorry?
You need a motion.
Oh, right, sorry.
I'll move that we receive the CAO report for information.
Thank you.
I gotta get sworn in here, don't I? You have to get sworn in? Okay.
Okay.
Do you have to sign the paper for deputy mayor? Or Donna?
Donna, did you sign a paper for deputy mayor?
Take a vote. Can't remember.
I honestly don't remember if I don't,
I can remember.
It's just-
Perfect.
I don't
Any
think
insight?
so.
Well,
Well, the motion will cover it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just an appointment.
You were sworn in when you were elected originally. You only
Okay.
sworn in differently.
I don't
from
think
there.
I did, I think it was just an appointment that was made.
Okay.
Okay, and maybe you can just double check that, Brian.
Municipal affairs does not require an appointment for a deputy.
Oh, they don't,
Okay.
okay, thank you. Okay,
As-
your report.
Sorry to jump in on that.
I'm open to any questions regarding my report. I basically touched on some of the stuff, like the construction of the trail system. Public Works Supervisor Mike Genty told me that, and I explained it earlier, that because of holidays and that, and some of the senior staff that can run the paver will be off, so he's going to start the prep work, and that would mean hauling of gravel, digging out, doing the base work for the walking trail system, so when it comes time for the asphalt, they can just go on a straight run and hopefully lay it in a few days, so. The lagoon outfall, the tender closed the other day, and we had nobody bid on the project.
Uh-oh.
So our engineers were going back to the 4 companies that had picked up packages to do the work, and he was gonna get a feel from them of why they didn't submit a bid, so. He hasn't got back to me. I emailed him again today to give me an update so I could provide some more of my report to council tonight, but he hasn't. And I checked my emails when I come in tonight at 6, and he still hasn't got back to me, so. I attended a site meeting at the old hospital, and basically what that was about was for the creek and the culvert that runs through the property, and how they said that it's been there since, I think the early 60s from what I understand, and there's been no easement for that stormwater drainage ever since. I don't know, so that'll be, one of the things coming forward is to register an easement across there because it is our stormwater system, so. And they, and last talking to Alberta Health Services, they haven't decided whether they're gonna actually open it up as into a creek or whether they're gonna pull the existing pipe out and lay a new one. I probably would think that they will pull a pipe out and slope it and make it into another creek. That'll be the cheaper way to do it, so.
Well,
It's hard to say with them.
I would really rather see them as one property, because it's a lot more valuable as one versus divided by a creek. So, yeah, if we can push them, I think there's a better chance of somebody wanting a bigger property than one that's divided. Councilor Wilson?
It just limits development with an easement going across the property, so you have to designate that area as
As
parking
parking,
or
yeah.
whatever, green area.
Yeah.
whatever.
It's, the property is divided regardless, you can't put a whole bunch on, like, you wouldn't be able to put anything on top of the, other than a parking lot, so whether it's a ditch or whether it's,
But at least you could have a parking lot versus a creek there, right? Like, that's my thinking.
well, and then the opposite side of that is to put a footbridge over that, you have to get permission from Oceans and Fisheries, because it's all, you do, it's,
Yeah, so that's
because it's
why-
all part of that Deep Creek. When we put the one by the lift station at Esso, we were shocked, and God, that took like, what, a year to get permission for that?
But that's why I'm saying I'd much rather it be, put in a new culvert than divided. Anyways, that's in their hands, but if we have any say, can you make sure that's, unless council disagrees, but that's what I think we should be pushing for is a new culvert and not made into a creek, because it's not gonna be as attractive. There was Councillor Stenhouse.
Yes, I have more questions. Those water fountains that we put in, why are they not turned on? For the walking trails, along the walking trails, the one by the railroad tracks?
I have no idea, I'll check into that.
Yeah, could you look into that? And did you look into, talking to the food bank about doing a presentation on their hours of operation and stuff?
Kim's gonna be here at the next council meeting on the 12th of July to do a presentation, and you can ask her all the questions you want.
Okay.
She's going to be attending a scheduled delegation, so.
Okay, great.
Councillor Martins?
Ryan Martinson, just following up on the question I asked earlier. Last meeting, we talked about those, you mentioned it's a switch thing where they only come on at a certain time. Now, of course, it's summer, so it's lighter, longer. Is there any way to keep it on all of the time, the lights, especially in that, that end of town?
Yeah.
Right, so has it been implemented? Can we go back to them, those businesses, and say, it's where Hazen's is, it's where Home Hardware is, it's Bibbs, it's that whole,
Just our kilowatt hours will go up big time for the town.
We want to keep the light on during the day?
no,
No,
no.
They don't go on, they're motion censored, they don't go on. No, they're not.
They're not motion sensor.
no, they
They're
got
photo
photos.
eyes. They're photo eyes, so when it gets dark, they come on automatically.
That's it. But they don't come on automatically, that's the thing, they only come on when you walk or drive underneath them, is what the gentleman said to me. They don't come on automatically.
No, they're not motion censored, they're photo eyes.
Why-
Perhaps then they're malfunctioning,
Okay, so who can look into that then?
but yeah, right?
There's a report a street program, any individual can report a street light that's not
Is that on
operating.
our website?
They're at close.
I had a peace officer drive down that road from UFA to the intersection of the school division and the old school division yards. There was 10 streetlights within that area, besides the bank, 2 poles in Pops's yard with 4 lights on each one of them. So it more than meets you know, our municipal standards for that length of a run for that many streetlights. So
And the lights were on at night?
I haven't been up.
Okay, well, that's sort of what I'm hearing, is the lights aren't going on.
It's not our street.
His concern was theft, right? I mean, theft at Dennis's and his, you know, and he says he's there all the time, 24/7, he's tired.
But
So
if
that was,
the lights aren't working, then anybody can report the light isn't working to ATCO, and they will respond quickly.
When I talked to Erica, when she was out and about and had made a diagram for me of where the lights were located, she said she thought the ones from Pop's Home Hardware were so big and so many there that they would create so much light that the other ones wouldn't work, eh? So,
and this is the other end of town, so this is by Home Hardware, the school
Yeah.
division, that area.
and that's,
Hmm.
she said that's probably why they weren't coming on, because there was like 8 big lights in that parking lot, out in the front of the building. And she said maybe they're creating so much light
At the
that
photo
the
sensor.
photo sensors weren't coming on because they were still being picked up as daylight.
But that wouldn't be the case by Hazen's and stuff, that's dark there, and those lights should be on at night, and if they're not coming on at night, then there's a problem.
And as I reported last meeting, you know, he said that he's brought it to council or, you know, so we'll just go back. Maybe if there was old news, we'll go back and see what.
Yeah, no, like we said, I don't remember it ever coming to council on our, not while I've been here, but. It's possible. I see Thomas shaking her head too.
I don't remember him coming
Yeah.
at all.
Me, and I don't remember part of that.
So, anyways, that's okay, we need to check it out now, that's the key. We need to move forward, check it out, and if it's not coming on, even they can report it to ATCO. Oh, just say, you had another question? I saw your hand, so you're not done.
Not on his report, this is not on his report, but you mentioned it, Martinson, is that what was the finding with note taking during closed sessions? Because now I'm curious.
I talked to Desiree Curry from Municipal Affairs, and she believes that note taking, you could take notes, but she also said that it was a thought process to some people, that some people have to write it down, and then the ideas or whatever that was passed in council would sink in or have time to, you know, consume all the information going through. But she did say that the notes should be given back to the CAO at the end of the meeting, so they can be shredded and destroyed.
So having a piece of paper you can write on, but then at the end of it,
Yes, that's what she said.
you hand it in, so
Loose
there
leaf or
is,
whatever.
yeah, okay. Well, and that's gonna go to the bylaw committee
Yeah.
to go over, okay. Other questions? I thought I saw somebody else's hands up, but.
Well, I just wanted clarity because I remember reporting lights staying on 24 hours. And it was faster to go through the town, because we pay the power bill, than it was to get ATCO to act on it. So I just wanted clarity on who we're reporting this to, ATCO, and if they don't take care of it within so much time, then we call the town?
What we basically tell citizens is if you see a street light that is out, to let us know, and then take a street address or a pole number if they do have the number of the pole, and we will report it to ATCO. And I know in previous years, whenever they had a crew come in from Slade Lake, that's where their working crews were coming from, with their bucket trucks and that, then they would fix the lights at that time.
Yeah, no, my complaint was the lights were on 24 hours, and we're paying the bill. That's why I wanted those photo sensors fixed.
Well, that's the other thing, if you see them on all the time, then
Go ahead, Rita.
Just to put your mind at ease, streetlights are not monitored like they don't have a meter, so they're just a estimated cost. they're not metered.
So they estimate how much power they would use based on this many
Daily
poles
savings,
and
yeah.
this much,
Yeah.
so, yeah. Huh. I wonder, probably not in our favor, I guess.
I don't think so either.
But I mean, that's what we
You
gotta
can't
live with.
control that.
Yeah, oh, that's it, I didn't realize that.
that.
Okay, any other questions for our CEO? I'm wondering if you've heard anything more from Dairy Queen, is there any?
I sent them emails, asked them to submit site drawings and that to what they propose, and so we can start having our engineers review the plans, but they haven't sent nothing back.
Okay, so we haven't heard anything, we don't know what's happening there.
No.
Okay. Councillor Danaka?
It's got nothing to do with your report, so based on that, I just want some clarification. So if somebody buys a lot in town and they wanna put a house on it, they come and get a development permit, but they need to have blueprints first?
They need a drawing of where the house is gonna be located on the property.
Okay,
And what that tells us by going back and reviewing the land use bylaw, there's setbacks of front yard setbacks,
Okay, okay.
side yard setbacks.
Okay.
Any easements?
so when do they need blueprints? When they're gonna build?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Once when the site plan is approved,
okay,
the development permit application is approved, then they submit their blueprints.
okay, that's all I needed to know.
I see a little hand go up, but not really. Okay,
Anyone else first?
anyone else? All right, last one.
Okay, Martin, some last question. Whatever happened with the golf course with Mr. Matthews there?
I believe he said that, they would allow some free golf for employees,
Does council still want to do that?
you know?
Or not? I guess it was our appreciation event for our staff, right? Because
Well, I know that, you know, we've been helping them out also, you know, besides financially, we have our back truck out there when it's not busy and that to do their sewer system and that, so.
that was his big gripe, was that he said that they weren't able to get, his big gripe was that the golf got them. But if it's fixed, it's good. That was his big thing, that he said that, yeah. Good. So now we have an option to consider.
Okay, I forget who made the motion, and I didn't write it down on this. Who made the motion to receive it for, was Councillor Waco? Okay.
I'll take the blame.
All in favor? Carried. And we'll move on then to our council reports, starting with Councillor Danaka.
Just a couple things, I attended the municipal leaders conference that was here June 15th. Basically, they had topics that they were discussing: climate change, sustainability services, asset management, etc. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there for the whole session due to a family funeral. We discussed some of the stuff that they brought up, which was the Clean Energy Improvement Program, the President's report. It was interesting when we were talking about policing, is that, I can't remember who said it, if it was the Mayor Marathorpe or Kathy Heron, who said that I'm not sure who she was talking to, but in the government, they were saying that the citizens were all for changing the policing to the local police force, or Alberta Police Services, but it's the elected officials that were not. So I found that really interesting.
That was Todd Lowen's comment.
Was it, okay,
Yeah, that was Todd Lowen's comment at the Northern Alberta elected leaders.
okay. I knew somebody had made it, but I couldn't remember. And then you had break-up sessions and the little groups that you discussed, you know, the issues that, you know, like concerns regarding the one was the fiscal funding and what our thoughts were that in a group. It was interesting, the mayor from Alberta Beach was part of my group, and I mean, this is the side to what happened at the meeting, but she was, they came in from Swan Hills Way, of course, and as we're sitting down to start the discussion, she says to me, she said, your town has a beautiful smell. And I'm like, what does that mean? And basically she said that it smells fresh, it smells clean. She said, I don't know, maybe it's because of the lilacs are starting to bloom, but she said, your town has a beautiful smell, which I found kind of interesting. The only other thing I did was I attended the crosswalk, the first day with the handprints on the crosswalk, and then the dedication ceremony the following day. Dignitaries gave their speeches and whatnot. It was a simplistic ceremony, but a very, very emotional ceremony. I spent some time talking with Jennifer Zatko. I also spent some time talking with the fellow from the TD Bank. The fellow from the TD Bank was quite thrilled to be part of the commemoration and being the sponsor of that project. So yeah, other than that, that was all that I had. So I move my verbal report for information.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Councillor Dunn?
I have nothing to report, and I move that you receive. Awesome, thank you.
All right. Councillor Martins?
Donna stole my thunder in a couple of items. You know, the Municipal Leaders Caucus was awesome. The one takeaway for me was that my group was Grand Prairie, and they too have, shall we say, issues with Dr. Muir. So that was good. I was like, Grand Prairie, really? You know, because they have that new hospital, so that was great. And the two councillors that I sat with on that end were just comical and full of energy and awesome. You know, it was the good thing of that is that we were the host city, so Mayor got to do his little, you can talk to it, but it was nice. It was nice to see our mayor talk about the town and then talk about the post office. We did a tour with them after. It was, you know, Donnie, you missed it, but it was really nice. They were really engaged. They loved our mural, our post office, and all of that. Yeah, I did the handprints also in the previous day before the ceremony, and it was awesome. Jennifer and her team, Verna from Victim Services. I mean, it was just such a nice gathering. Beautiful day. I thought the image on the street was nice. The two things that I did that were different were, I had my interview with the AHS Health Advisory Committee about 10 days ago. Now I have to do a criminal check just for being a volunteer. And the second thing was the AGM at Canuso for the Watershed Council, and it was awesome. They had a guest speaker. I had to leave early before supper because we had our special meeting here that evening, so I had to come back. But those were my items. Any questions?
You want to move it?
All right, then I will move my verbal report for information.
All in favor? Carried. Well, and you thought Donna stole your thunder, well, you really took it
But I
all away
segue,
from
come
our
on, it's
minutes.
my turn, what can I say?
So yeah, there's nothing much more to add on that. It was a good event, a good day, I think. It was nice to have people here. I also had a phone conversation with Aaron Gruber, who was part of that outdoor rink group. And they're looking to start doing some of their fundraising. They're still looking at where they can put it. They're working with the Yak to see if they can get it there, and they're working on some things. She's somewhat optimistic that they'll get it there, but they wanted to be able to use our society, and I know Brian and Rita's given her the information she needs to use the society to start doing some, applying on some grants and doing some fundraising for that. We had a Heart River housing meeting. The Pleasant View Lodge is progressing. They're still saying that August 23rd that they're going to be done. I'm still a little pessimistic. I don't think that they're going to make that, but they are going hard. You know, they've talked about all the break-ins. They had a break-in there too. They've had at the lodge, they had a break-in at Heart River Housing. With their inside their lock compound just next door. So, like as mentioned already, lots of break-ins. Heart River Housing, they approved the strat plan. They talked about that, hiring that consultant to do grant writing for loans for the Falaire project, that kind of stuff. And another thing, we also approved the meals going up in price a little bit due to the increased prices in all of the food. So they had to up the rates for a meal package a little bit. Had a breakfast with a couple of the people from Talco here. They just gave another update on where they're at. Nothing's really changed. They're still not sure what they're going to do. Still looking at their 3 options for rebuilding and moving forward. Still working with their insurance company to see what they'll cover, because that'll impact which option they might decide to go with, all of those things. They're very worried about the workers, and what will they have when they're able to reopen, and you know, they're concerned about making sure they have some people when it's ready. And so we had talked about that rural renewal program that the businesses wanted to get going along with Deanna, and they were going to connect and see if they could get their name in on it and say, hey, we want to be in on this, put their name on it. So they were in on that. Attended the crosswalk ceremony, and also on Saturday it was the St. Andrews grad. Attended that, and 19 grads, nice ceremony. Long for 19 grads, but that was good. That's my report. I'll move it for information unless there's questions. Go ahead.
So can you elaborate more on the Talco breakfast, because are the workers at work? This seems kind of opposite to what our meeting was.
They have got some people that they're able to keep working. So some of them are working. They're trying to keep their more skilled people working because they don't want to lose them. Some of the people, they're giving them options to go to vacancies in other communities with the hope that they'll go there for a while and then transfer back once this one's open. So they're trying to work with the people as much as they can to keep them working. Not everybody's working. They did say that there was a few that and I'm going to say the unskilled laborers, they did let them go because there wasn't enough to keep them busy. Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay. No, I just wanted clarity, because when we went to the breakfast, it was, they were going to use everyone. Everyone was going to be back to work on Monday, from cleaning up to mopping to painting to everyone would be.
And they did keep everybody on the payroll, and then they were, now that, I'm gonna say that some of the work's been done and some of the cleanup from the fire that they could be involved with and stuff is done. And they had paid them for, I can't remember how long, he had said that they paid all of their workers for a couple of weeks because they couldn't get into the mill, and they kept them on the payroll, and then they brought some in, and then they've had to downsize a little bit.
They did warn us that that would happen. They said that, you know, we're gonna work them as much as we can, but there are going to be times where not everybody's working. That was stated clearly at the breakfast.
They don't know how long it's going to be, because it depends on which of the options that they proceed with, and each of the options comes with different timeframes, and they don't even know the timeframes for some of the options, because if they're looking at rebuilding their current press, they gotta be able to get in there, take it apart, see what's damaged, see when they can get those parts, because those parts are only coming from one company out of Germany. When can they get them? Do they even have them available? There is so many questions that they don't have answers to at this point in time. They did say that they had their eye on a nice continuous press, so it would be an improvement on the one that they have there. There is actually one that's been built and is ready to go. They told me that it was due to be shipped to Russia before the war broke out. And so it's all ready to go. And they're hoping that maybe they can buy that, but it's quite a bit more money. It would take quite a bit of upgrades and changes to their current line and their current system. So they're not sure on that option, because it is a much bigger price tag, and they're trying to get everything lined up for that and see how much the insurance would pay. And then, of course, the third option for them is they've got an eye on a used press that they were looking at too, and so that's the third option that they're looking at. Yeah, lots of they're busy trying to find out where that's going to go and dealing with insurance companies. You know how that goes, because they're doing lots of interviews and checking to see if there's who's at fault and where they're at fault. Okay, move my report for information. All in favor? On then. Oh, sorry, Councillor Stenhouse.
No report,
All right.
even though I did attend the same meetings as you.
Councillor Wakel. The only thing that I had was last meeting there were some questions about the rural entrepreneur stream, but Deanna Bassard has worked with Brian Bartson here, and that has been filled out and submitted, so that will hopefully help things out. And yeah, Toku is involved in the
submission.
Their Bronwyn was at our first couple of meetings there, so, and then they got busy. So that is my report. I move that for information.
Any questions? None? All in favor? Councillor Yushishin.
Bringing up the rear. So I have two things. I attended the community partnership team meeting. It started out with a presentation from example of their partnership that they've got going with Bonnyville, community of Bonnyville there, which was very interesting. Actually, it got me really excited and really got me thinking of, when we're talking about communication and what the community, the town, and the municipality, county needs as well. It started getting me really thinking of some of the opportunities there. But there was three main, I guess, takeaways there. One, like I'm mentioning, to work as in partnership, in building a relationship with AHS. And I think, what I got out of the meeting was that, they kind of work in silos, and they've been working at trying to bridge the gap between the silos within AHS themselves. So They gave a few examples of that, which was interesting, but I think there's a lot more work to do. One of the big things I took away from that also was one of the hugest or biggest things that they're lacking in the hospital here is hiring nurses, and really huge. Like, the question was asked, how many could you hire right now? And basically, Deb said, as many as I possibly can get. So we did talk on that, expanded on that and talked on that a little bit further. When we asked that question, what is it and why is it? One of the big things was they just said that it's just, they're not getting enough in the programs to have enough around, to hire, like basically to hire. So then the question was asked, could we provide that kind of training here in Northern Lakes College or, facilities that we have here? They did indicate that could be an option, that was an option. So that generated a little bit more conversation in that regard that will be looked at further. But really, the nursing was huge there. That was a huge takeaway there. What else was that? Oh yeah, so the lab times did come up, and so Barry Shikawi and myself asked for, could we please have some numbers and some clarification on that. We brought up the fact of, you have to call in, so you're there already at the clinic, then you have to call in. The difficulty with that, because a lot of people come in from out of town, they might have a taxi waiting, or there might be something like that. So we really emphasized the fact that the concern there and what we're hearing. So when we asked about the lab times, they say what they would provide that. I haven't seen anything, but then we just had the meeting not too long ago, so I'm still watching for that. I think that presentation with Bonnyville would be, we haven't received that either. We asked, could we get that to us? Because I think that would be a really good thing for everybody to look at and go through. And then again, just touching on with the nurses again, the rural renewal community, they presented there as well. And they were very interested in that, of course. I mean, if they can get anybody coming in now, that would help that shortage, would be huge. What was the other thing here? Oh yeah, good news that, some of the good news that they have there was that, that they have hired physio fully in their back again, because they had some people away, so it was a delay in getting the physio treatment, so people are waiting longer, which is not a healthy thing to be doing. I mean, you need that kind of thing right away. So they were really happy to tell us that they have that fully filled now, so that was good. Let's see, what else did I have on that? I thought I had something else. No, that was it, I guess. And otherwise, I was at the sidewalk dedication. Just very nice to attend. I was happy to attend, and very, very emotional and that. And I did talk to Jennifer a little bit there, which was nice. I move my report for information unless there's any questions.
Councillor Sanos?
So you said HS is working like 2 silos. What do you mean by that?
And not just 2 silos. They just kind of admitted that the way they're set up, they'll have the clinic running, then they'll have the support programs, like say, for example, mental health. So somebody will come into the clinic, they've got a concern, say with a child or something, or early development, speech, say, for example. They'll come in, and because this group's working with this, that one's group working there, that when they have to go to another department for support and help, like say speech therapist, there tends to be that period of time where that lacking of immediate service to go to that. And it's only mainly, one of the main reasons is because they're set up. So they were saying they recognize that. They recognize that as a barrier, and they recognize that as being a problem in that. And so they presented to us that they're to let us know that they're currently working on trying to develop that a little bit better. So, yeah, they didn't give a whole lot of details on that. But yeah, that was the main thing, is they wanted us to know that they are recognizing where there's some downfalls, and to be able to correct those by working with High Prairie, with Grand Prairie, with Slave Lake, with the communities around. So, and every community is a little bit unique, you know, in what their needs are, and so they're recognizing that one size doesn't fit all for all communities, and that they're recognizing that there are communities that have individual needs and how to better provide those needs. So they're supposed to come back to, they're supposed to come back to us on more information on how they basically plan to do that. Because we asked, like, okay, how are you gonna do this? And so, like I said, so I'm losing my voice already, I was talking too much this week. But they said they would come back to us, so we're looking forward to that, more information, and, you know, I guess how more they're gonna be doing that, so. Part of that too, like with that, they kind of really just skim the surface when they're talking about the partnerships, but that really got me thinking in that, oh, wait a minute, that, I think they're heading in the right direction with that, and they were just starting that with Bonnyville, but they were finding it was being very successful, and I'd like to see more information to pass on to council for ideas, basically how that can, you know, possibly maybe work for us. But that's something to bring to council, once we know a little bit more information on that, because there could be some good ideas that we could bring forward on that.
So what do you mean by partnerships? Partnerships with who, or?
Yeah, so it's the partnerships, it's AHS partnering better and more fully in areas that they have it with, say, the town itself, with the county. Well, those are the two main ones. So that's what they're doing with Bonnyville, the town of Bonnyville, as well as the counties there. That's what they're pulling together and starting to, I guess, get going. And instead of AHS kind of, they're working here, and we have questions, so we're asking these questions. And it's not just going to a meeting and asking questions, but actually working in a partnership together. I don't see that happening fast, like I see that as something that has to have time to develop, right? So what that might look like for Bonnyville might be a
We
little
need to
bit
keep
different
it short and cut, because we've got another item and we're. getting
Yeah, sorry, I
very
could
close.
probably talk on it a fair bit.
I know,
because
but
it was-
we've got some
Yeah.
big topics to go. Was there anything else though specific? No, okay.
We do have till 11.
Yeah,
We
I know.
have till 10:30.
No.
11, we've got, it's in our bylaws, 11.
That's how you change it.
Okay, do you move your report?
I moved my report.
All in favor? Okay, carried. So with that, we're gonna have to move into our confidential item. We'll take, no, we don't adjourn the meeting. We'll take 5 minutes and then we'll, I know, we'll take 5 minutes and then we'll get going from there.
I'm sorry, I was trying to do that fast, but it's not.
I know,
There's a lot of,
I'm just,
there's a
yeah.
lot going on there.